Merrill's First Principles of Instruction by Rikita Thorne. The First Principles of Instruction paper was created by American education researcher Dr. David Merrill in 2002. This is a quote I found interesting from Dr. Merrill. The gist of his quote is a student's motivation to learn is increased when they are presented with real world problems. Merrill's Principles of Instruction was created in hopes of making learning effective, efficient, and engaging for learners. To accomplish this, Merrill listed 5 key principles of instruction for educators. So, what's the big idea? Merrill believes that educators should move away from talking and lecturing in class and gear their lessons towards showing students what they will learn and involve them in their learning. A key factor in this model centers around the implementation of real-world tasks. Merrill believes students are motivated when the problem is real and relevant. Let's look at the 5 principles of instruction. The 5 principles of instruction work together cohesively in this design. The task or problem is centered in the activity, and the other elements work together to solve the task. The 4 remaining principles are activation, demonstration, application, and integration. First, learners are engaged in solving real-world problems. Secondly, their prior knowledge is activated as a way of relating the current problem. Third, new knowledge is presented or demonstrated for learners. Fourth, students are able to apply what they have learned. Fifth, students integrate the new knowledge into their world. On the next few slides, I will show you Merrill's Principles of Instruction in action inside of my classroom. This is a lesson I have utilized when teaching 7th grade social studies, and my students tend to enjoy it. First, we start with the task or the problem. How does water pollution and unequal distribution of water impact drinking water in Africa, and what methods can be used to solve this issue? The issue is real world and relevant. After presenting the problem to my students, I try to make the assignment relevant to my students. To make this problem relevant to my students, I connect it to their lives by posing the question of how different would the US be with limited or unequal distribution of water. Make a list of how many aspects of life for you would be different if you had to walk to find water and had to utilize dirty water. Students would be provided with a chart to jot down their thoughts. The next principle is demonstration. To present the problem to students, I would provide them with the YouTube reading of The Water Princess. The Water Princess is based on supermodel Georgie Bedel's childhood, a young girl dreaming of bringing clean drinking water to her African village. Students are able to visualize the problem and hear the reading as well. After viewing the Water Princess read along, which generally has guided questions, students watch the Water for Life documentary. In this documentary, mogul Jay-Z follows a young girl on her journey to retrieve clean water. During this part of the lesson, students are able to see the problem from the perspective of someone their age. To help resolve the issue, Jay-Z invests millions of dollars into creating a pipeline and well for the African village. Students not only see the problem, they also see one possible solution to help with the unsanitary water issues. After the demonstration, students will take the information learned and apply it to an activity. This activity allows students to explain the problem and follow up with a solution to the problem. Students will have access to other forms of information, such as slideshows, as additional resources to assist in their summarization. The last principle is the integration of knowledge. After visualizing and hearing of the problem, many of my students want to do more. In the past, we have connected with the Junior Beta Club to create fundraisers that would provide resources to villages in Africa. One platform is the Water Project. This allows students to create the fundraiser and advertise it to their peers and community members. We also discuss ways they can preserve water at home. After this lesson, students are appreciative of the resources we take for granted every day. I've analyzed two articles that utilize Merrill's first principles of instruction in their research. The first one is implementing flipped learning approach based on first principles of instruction in mathematics courses by author Jurgency Serpell. This study investigates the effect of e-learning, blended learning, and flipped learning approaches on the mathematics achievement, self-regulation, and mathematics self-efficacy. When looking at the chart, some elements of Merrill's principles of instruction were removed from certain settings. In the blended classroom, only application and integration were utilized for the web-based activities. Some elements were not implemented to test the effectiveness of the approach. Several studies found that the first principles of instruction design theory improves the mathematics achievement, self-regulation, and mathematics self-efficacy levels of students. This study also revolves around a flipped classroom. Title: Using First Principles of Instruction to Design Secondary School Mathematics Flipped Classroom. The findings of two exploratory studies. Authors Chong Quan Lo and Ki Fun Hu. In flipped classrooms, the content is given through recordings prior to class, and class time is reserved for activities and problem solving. The study is to understand the impact of a flipped classroom on underperforming and high ability students in mathematics learning. How does the teacher and student perceive the use of a flipped classroom? How can the design and implementation of a flipped classroom be improved? The study was interesting to me because I wanted to know if the design would work in a setting of low performing students. The chart shows different principles of the flipped classroom, one being in the classroom and the other online. In conclusion, the study found that Merrill's principles of instruction helped the growth of both sets of students, so it was beneficial. However, many of the students didn't like watching the videos prior to class because they needed help with their studies before they were granted access to a teacher. The teachers also felt some things are better taught in class than on a recording. My thoughts on Merrill's first principle of instruction are mixed. I believe it is a great method to get students involved in their learning and presenting them with issues that are relevant and real. I believe we should be preparing our students for life as adults and how to compete in a global society. However, due to standardized testing, learning progressions, and time restraints, this model can prove difficult. The model will require time, and if you're in a school setting that doesn't allot a lot of time for falling behind, this progression will prove difficult. You also have the issue of student autonomy. Some students will participate and learn through doing, whereas some require more guidance and teacher-focused lessons. Overall, I believe the method is effective, engaging, and efficient, and can be utilized in the right classroom setting.